Hello, this is Ricardo Francis, the Venting Vigilante. It's good to be with you again today. I appreciate being with you. I love being with you. I love spending time with you. So wherever you are, maybe you're at work, you're at home, you're in your car, wherever you are watching me and spending this time with me, I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Today we're going to talk about marriage. Yes, that fine legal institution. That it's a legal contract, of course, that has been around from the beginning of time. Of course, clearly cavemen and people from the first century didn't understand marriage the way we understand marriage today. The whole marriage has been transferred over time as a result of social, economic, and political reasons. Friends, marriage in its sense as we know it where the church is concerned, marriage was sanctioned by the Catholic Church in the 12th century as a sacrament from God. Yes, from the man upstairs. Moving forward, it was in the 13th century that the Catholic Church said that a priest must be involved with respect to a marriage. So you see the church's involvement with marriage. Clearly, I've done a series so far from dating from the period of dating to the wedding ceremony, and to get us to where we are today in terms of talking about marriage. Marriage clearly in the past, prior to the church's involvement, was a union about building alliances. It was a legal contract with the transfer of property, where relatives were involved. In some cases, a brother will marry his deceased brother's wife as a means of transferring the property. So the whole idea and the concept, the legalization of the concept, respecting marriage in terms of how it has developed over time. Clearly, let's move forward a little bit. It was now in 1753 that the British Parliament actually passed law governing the issuing of a license to be married as well as the registration of a marriage. Because clearly they wanted to ensure that notices were given as well as it can be verified that you're not marrying your brother, you're not marrying, a girl marrying her brother, a guy marrying his sister, and so on and so forth. So marriage has taken on its legal step in terms of how it was transferred from Europe into the New World, the Western world, where we live in North America today. So marriage has evolved. Marriage, of course, has changed over time. It has evolved over time. We go from the Elizabethan period, the Victorian period, where you had the Industrial Revolution. I spoke about that in one of my earlier videos. So we get into the period now of the 1950s, where the marriage as we know it today become further institutionalized. Marriage, then men went to war, they came back from war. In some cases they got married before they went to war, or when they came back they got married. But they found good jobs. They found good jobs because there was an engine of economic growth at the end of World War II. The whole world economy was growing. The nuclear family became a reality. Father went to work and mother stayed at home and take care of the kids. Friends, then we went into the next decade of the 1960s. We saw a further transformation in terms of marriage. Then we went into the 1970s, 80s, 1990s, and now we're in the 21st century. In fact, we're in 2017. The fact remains is this. Marriage is become further institutionalized, the legalization of it. Some people will argue today that is it really necessary to go through all the shenanigans of dating, or whether it be an arranged marriage, or you may have fallen in love with a girl, is it really necessary that you have to go through all these shenanigans about engagement party, etc.? Though they're all traditionally based, they're steeped in tradition, based upon cultural and religious values. Because people think it's very expensive, it's very costly. Why spend all that money when you can take that money and perhaps put it towards the down payment of a property if you don't already own one, or save it for some other purposes? Because ultimately, if something were to go wrong and you had to get a divorce, because then you would have already been sanctioned economically, with financial costs, that is, for a wedding that didn't last. So you could just go to a chapel, you could go to City Hall, and you could get married without having the blessing of the church. But remember, if you're steeped in tradition, and you're highly religious, or you have certain fundamental religious values and Christian values, or whatever religious beliefs you may have, you may, of course, go through the whole process of getting married. Friends, in North America where I live today, in Canada that is, there are many different ways in terms of how marriage is recognized. Marriage is recognized, first of all, it can be done by common law, having lived together for 3 years. Now, if you're living with a woman and there is a child in question, then it's only 1 year in terms of common law. For immigration purposes, it's 1 year. For tax purposes, it's 1 year. Of course, or in the alternative, you can live together for all eternity without getting married. Because that's the way it was in the old days. It's the state involvement, and as society becomes more complex, more socially transformed, economically transformed, politically transformed, then of course we see the present of the alternative lifestyle affecting what is deemed and constituted as marriage, how marriage is defined, how marriage is referred to. Friends, the institution of marriage is a beautiful thing for those who want to be part of it, but there are many people today who are arguing that social experts, that is, social commentators will argue, is the institution of marriage in decline. You know, in the case of Quebec, in Canada where I live, it's a very Catholic-oriented society. The French don't get married a lot. In fact, I will give you some important statistics. In Canada, I understand it to be that 60% of people get married. Of the 60%, 80% get a divorce within 3 years. In fact, 70% of all those divorces are initiated by women. Because as women become more independent, they have, some cases, have more earning power than men. It transforms the relationship in terms of that unevenness. So friends, economics dictate a lot. Social realities dictate a lot in terms of marriages. Friends, I love you. I love sharing these moments with you. See you next time.